Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. Today I got a game for you that I played a couple of days ago, and this is going to be versus none other than Rewind. I feel like I've already uploaded about 16 games against Rewind to the YouTube channel, but he's one of the few Protosses that is actually playing at a high level in the Legacy of the Void beta, and I think he plays this game pretty much exclusively because he seems to be online a lot. Or at the very least, when I'm playing, he seems to be playing as well. But anyways, this is going to be a Zerg versus Protoss that we played, and this is actually a pretty cool one. Because I've always been playing a lot of, like, you know, Ultralisk focused strategies and like Zergling into Ultra focused strategies, or Roach Hydra into Lurker style, I figured I should try something else. So in the last couple of games that I have played in Zerg vs Protoss, I've been trying out a lot more air. And air is one of those things that doesn't seem to be as viable for Zerg, right? When you think of like air units or like mass air, you think of like Sky Toss. You know, maybe Sky Terran as well with the Liberator and all the kind of shenanigans that they can do. But not so much Zerg. Now in Legacy of the Void, they've changed a couple of things up. First and foremost, Corruptors can actually attack, you know, buildings right now. I said in the past that this was removed. Apparently this was a bug and like a mistake in the patch notes and it got fixed or whatever. But Corruptors actually can, you know, take down buildings right now, and they can still attack anti-air as well, obviously. On top of that, we also have it changed to the Viper. Vipers now actually have Parasitic Bomb, which allows you to basically nuke down everything that your opponent has in the air. And you guys know that switching to air obviously is usually done, or like countering Mutalisk and whatnot is usually done with making Phoenixes in Zerg vs Protoss, and you know, other air units as well versus Terran. On top of that, the Broodlord also got changed up. Broodlords now actually have a whole lot more range than they do in Heart of the Swarm, making them a lot more viable against big ground armies. So I've been testing this out a little bit, I've been thinking about it. Mostly it's just the theory in my head that I'm trying to make work. I am pretty certain that if you max out on an army consisting of Muta, Corruptor, Broodlord, Viper, I'm pretty certain it will be nearly unstoppable, especially because of the amount of gas that costs. Because then you can just make so many spines and spores everywhere else, and I'm pretty certain that there is absolutely no way your opponent can stop it. But, you know, that's a theory. We'll have to see how it works out. But anyways, so in this game right here, I'm going to be attempting it, and at the very least, it should show you that mass air is very viable. This is also true for Heart of the Swarm. It's a great strategy to be going for. And right here, I'm scouting around, I'm like, oh shit. My opponent adding on two more gateways right there. It's gonna be a 4-gate adept, but you know, I don't really have to worry because we do see the Nexus right there. A lot of 4-gate adept shenanigans going down lately. I am gonna put a spine and a spine in every single base that I got, every single one as in 2, and I will be expanding towards the 3rd base. Now I do see the chrono boost right there on those 2 adepts, which I'm convinced that are adepts, by the way. There's no way it's something else at this point. So, you know, I do make the 3rd base right there, but I feel a little bit uncomfortable, you know? The idea is to go to the mid game, obviously, and make a lot of air units. Well, it's not really gonna happen like this, right? But anyways, I'm gonna be making a bunch of Zerglings. I did go for the super early Zergling speed to make sure that I can deal with this kind of shenanigans. And at the very least, you know, I'm making plenty of units to deal with this. I know for a fact that he made an expansion, so I know it's not an all-in by any stretch of the imagination, but I am quite invested into making defensive units here. Now, I do want to move in a little bit further, see what is going on, see if he's like chrono boosting out the warp gate upgrade or anything like that. Turns out he isn't, and I do manage to catch 2 of the adepts right here out in the open, and I believe I will pick him off right there as well. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So right now I have a big amount of Zerglings. In the end, I made like 24 or so. And, you know, I am behind in Harvesters because of that. But at the very least, you know, I got my Larian coming already, and I will be able to start non-stop units, or non-stop drones right now. Gonna do a little bit of poking up this ramp, see if there's something to be gained here. There is a Stalker, there is a Sentry popping out right now as well, so I'm gonna be attacking this for a little while longer, and I'm like, probably shouldn't be doing this. Let's just move back. I did lose, I don't know how many Zerglings there, not that many, but not really necessary. So here you can see me already transition towards that lair, and I want to try and get that 3rd base saturated as fast as I possibly can, so I can get more and more gas income, and therefore more and more Mutalisk. Usually the unit that you want to be opening with is either the Corruptor or the Mutalisk. Mutalisk are obviously great at pro-paras and whatnot, but they get countered pretty badly if your opponent already opened up with something like Phoenixes. So every now and then it may be viable to make like, you know, 6, 7, 8 Corruptors first, and then switch into Mutalisk instead, just to sort of counteract your opponent going for those units. Usually what happens, if they see that you go Corruptor first, they will switch into Void Rays, so you know, they will start pumping out Void Rays, and then the Mutas are a good follow-up again. So it's a silly little game that you play as a Zerg player when your opponent is going Stargate, and it turns out my opponent is doing exactly that. Now for the moment, I'm mostly just scouting around. I want to know what my opponent is up to, because hey, if I don't, I'm gonna have a very hard time. Now, I didn't get my Overlord in that base, so the only thing I can really hope for right here is that he tries to go for a third base shortly. I want to see if I can snipe a probe right here, see if the probe is moving over, see if there's anything there whatsoever, but there's not very much happening at all. So I'm still gonna be making drones. Now at this point, it's a little risky for me. I don't really know what my opponent is doing, and this is most of the time where I end up falling, you know? If I play a game and my opponent right now goes for a 2-base all-in or something like that, I would pretty much lose the game right here. The thing is, I poked up that ramp really quickly and I saw, okay, there's like 2-3 sentries, like 2 stalkers or something like that. There really wasn't much happening at all, and he seems to be heading towards that third base as it is. So I felt safe enough to at the very least add on those extra gases and just keep on making drones. I'm assuming right now that he's gonna be going for the third base, but as you can imagine, you know, ideally I would have had like a overseer flying around, or like an overlord with overlord speed flying around to figure out what's going on, because this is sort of like the scary moment in the game before the Mutalisks do come out. So I did notice my opponent was nuking down that overlord at his third base, and there we can see the Oracle moving in. So I do find out right now that my opponent did indeed go for the Stargate tech as well. I'm immediately adding on the Mutalisk, knowing that those are going to be amazing. And my opponent missed micros pretty badly, attacking the hatchery right there for a very long time. I think he meant to shift Q between them. Either way, I'm going to be moving over my spine crawlers, and I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting right now for the Corruptor, or for the Mutalisk to come out. And once I notice that my opponent is switching into Phoenixes, which is very, very likely, he scouted that I went for the Spire, I'm going to be going for a bunch of Corruptors as well. So for the moment though, as long as there's no critical mass of Phoenixes, it's really not that scary. I should be okay just making more and more and more Mutalisk here. Now my opponent is moving across the map right now with a little bit of an army. I'm not too worried about this because, you know, there's a very high chance right now that he did go for the third base. So I'm just gonna follow this up with more and more units, and I'm gonna knock down those rocks so he's forced to walk into 2 spine crawlers. At the very least, you know, get a little bit of value out of those 2 that I was forced to make early on against the adept aggression that I thought my opponent was going for. Turns out my opponent isn't really being that aggressive at all. If you have a quick look at the everyone cam, he just simply walked back home with his army. But you can see, like, he did go for a pretty adept heavy force. We did make that happen with the Zergling aggression early on, and adepts obviously cannot shoot up. So his anti-air so far has been pretty lackluster. I mean, he's got a couple of Phoenixes, and those will do alright. But he really needs to just start adding on more and more units here in order to deal with this. So you can see the double Stargate right now. He's actually adding on what is called an Oracle as well. But we'll go back to my vision right now. So in the meantime, I've been making more and more Mutalisk. I've been trying to get a lot of them up. And ideally, I do want to go for the double gases right there at the fourth base as well. So as you can see, already got the fourth base, you know, coming up right now. Still got a very low amount of workers. And I'm going to try and snipe the Oracle right there. Do get it. But, you know, Phoenixes obviously can move and shoot at the same time. And they outrange Mutas. Or Phoenixes can obviously do that, so I gotta be very careful with these scenarios. And at this point, I do start adding on the Corruptors. Now, like I mentioned, Corruptors can actually attack buildings now. So it's a nice unit. It really does give you a lot more use to them. Because in the past, you know, if you made Corruptors, it didn't really feel like a threat at all. And they deal actually a significant amount of damage, as you will find out very shortly as well. The main thing right now that I know for playing against Skytos about a gazillion times is that I cannot allow him to get a fourth base up. If he gets a fourth base up, he will simply just get too much gas, and at that point he can start producing carriers, he can start producing void rays, he can produce all kinds of nasty things. So it's all about that fourth base. As you will see right now, the third base I didn't really contest at all, but I do have a scout right now at the first potential fourth base, and I do have a scout at the other potential fourth base as well, just to ensure that that is not gonna be happening. I need to be attacking as soon as I possibly can when I see that sort of aggression come out. So right now my opponent did clean up the Zergling that I had at the fourth base. I'm immediately going to be knocking down my own rocks, and I want to have a look around, see what's going on. Now the Corruptors are going to be great at dealing with this army, but I mostly want to be making sure that I get Mutas. Mutas are going to be great against cleaning up everything that he has on the ground, especially once I have a big army of them. I'm pretty certain that if you max out on Mutalisk, it's nearly impossible for them to stop you. As long as like the Corruptors are sort of chasing around the Phoenixes and prevent the Phoenixes from shooting at the Mutalisks. So I'm just making as much as I possibly can. I'm going to attack up to a Hive as well. Potentially switch into Ultras if I really need to. But it's not really the plan right now. I'm just trying to get as much gas as possible going. Got 8 gas geysers right now, and just adding on more and more stuff. Now, I should honestly be more aggressive here. Looking back at this, I should definitely be more aggressive towards the potential fourth base that he has. I got a big army here. I'm pretty certain I can do plenty of damage to it. If you have a quick look at 10 Stalker, or 5 Stalkers, 10 Phoenixes, I could definitely be doing more damage here. Anyways, I am going to be moving forward eventually. A little bit late on my end, obviously. I really should have moved in. But I do find that fort base being taken right now. One Zergling apparently had to be killed right there, because I'm a very bad boss. And I'm going to be going for the hive, and I'm going to be nuking down this base as soon as I can. So as you can see right here, I basically selected the Corruptors separately, and I moved those forward. That way you can basically ensure the Phoenixes to be shooting the Corruptors instead of the Mutalisks. And it does give you a lot more time. So I do get the cancel on that fort base, but basically I moved them separately forward as well. At this point, I do have 29 Mutalisks and 9 Corruptors. And once I hit the hive, I can switch to Ultralisk, but I can also obviously switch to Brute Lords. And that's exactly the plan right now. I got the Corruptors already, and I know for a fact that most of the Protoss players will be switching towards other armies as well. Other armies such as, you know, maybe Archons, maybe Blink Stalker, maybe High Templar with Storm and all that sort of stuff. So right now I'm okay. I'm moving forward my Mutas, knowing that his Phoenixes are out of position. Did manage to pick off a couple of them right there. Once again, positioning the Corruptors to be attacking the Phoenixes, and my Mutas are meanwhile cleaning up everything that he has on the ground, or at the very least everything that can shoot up. Now, obviously, a army consisting of a lot of Zealots and a lot of Adepts will be quite resilient to this sort of force. So, you know, I am gonna have to, you know, lose that base, and I did end up, I think, yeah, I lost 23 workers right there, which is a little bit much as well. But at the very least, you know, I got the hive transition incoming, and I got a lot more stuff. Now, as you can see, though, I'm not playing this near perfect at all. This does need a lot more practice. I got way too many workers in total in general in this game. I mean, I lost 23, but even at that point, I didn't really have that many. And, you know, the 4th base and the 5th base, very, very late. Not playing super aggressive as I probably could be getting done. But I'm gonna move forward right here. Got a big army, and the Corruptors, like I mentioned, can be attacking buildings right now. So I'm gonna activate that ability. Corruptors will be able to kill that off pretty much immediately, and my Mutas are just a little bit too plentiful to deal with all of this army. So as you can see, though, I wanted to upload this one just to give you my thought process about, you know, the entire scenario right now with the Mass Zerg Air. But there should be a lot of potential as far as the Greater Spire goes, and then the additional, like, what's that called? The additional static defense that you can make with this, and then also the Vipers that you can add to this army composition if your opponent is going for the Mass Air. It is still a work in process, or a work in good progress. For whatever reason, actually, they didn't end up killing the base right there. They could easily have done that, though. But there's a lot of cool strategies that you can do with this. If your opponent, you know, is going for that quick 3rd base, and you are allowed to clean up that first attack that he makes, because he opens up with a Stargate, you're in, like, one of the best positions in the game. It just requires a bunch of work to figure out exactly what the timings are, but I would highly encourage you give this a try if you do have access to Legacy of the Void, because it's a ton of fun to mess around with, and it feels a lot like playing versus, you know, Terran with Mutaling Bane and all that sort of stuff. It just is a little bit of a different dynamic, and I think it's a good skill to have. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button as well, so you'll get a notification as soon as I upload another one. And I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one.